Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Raymore City Council regular meeting for Monday, January the 24th, 2022. I'll call the meeting to order and inform you that we have two of our council members will be joining us remotely this evening, Councilmember Holman and Councilmember Abdelgawad. So I'd ask for the roll call, please.
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Berenson.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Serko.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Councilmember Will Scherzer.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have no presentations and awards this evening. We have no personal appearances. I'll turn to the staff for Mr. Fearborn for staff reports, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Krass to make a report for Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In addition to my written report, this year we are up for reaccreditation by the American Public Works Association. That process started today with an initial kickoff with the evaluation team. It's a little unique this year. They're doing it remotely, so they are going to be reviewing our operating procedures during kind of the rest of the week here, giving us feedback on a daily basis, and we will have a debriefing Friday morning. And that concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for staff on that one? Thank you, sir. Mr. Fearborn?
Thank you, Mr. Krass. I would ask Mr. Mustine to make a report for Parks and Recreation.
Thanks, sir. Mayor, members of the council, I've submitted a written staff report, but tonight I wanted to highlight a couple items addressing with the park board. We've had a couple months off. We've done some work sessions, but our meetings typically fall on the week of Thanksgiving and the week of Christmas, so we don't usually get to do our meetings even though we do work sessions. But tomorrow night we'll reconvene again. We've got some projects. What we're excited about is reviewing bids that were returned for the Hawks Nest Playground, all-inclusive playground. We received 5 bids, so they'll be going over those tomorrow, and a couple policy reviews, so it'd be good to be back in action and working with the park board. And happy to answer any questions. That concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Nathan. Any questions? Anyone from home? Hearing none, thank you very much. Move on to next report. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Mr. Mustine. I would ask Ms. Harmer to make a report for the Communications Department.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. First, I want to talk to you about Text My Gov. Before the end of February, we'll be launching an additional tool that our residents can use to communicate with us, and it's called Text My Gov. It's basically a phone numbers that residents can text keywords and phrases to, and it uses smart texting technology to send them an immediate response. So this works 24/7. It's completely customizable. For example, if someone is wanting to look at our job openings at the city, they can text the word job, jobs, career, hiring, employment, anything that has anything to do with a job to the number, and the response will say, you know, for more information about job opportunities or to fill out an application, visit raymore.com/jobs, and the link is right there in the text. Well, so it'll send people to wherever they need to go or answer their question immediately. And then also if someone needs to report an issue such as a pothole or tall grass, there are basically flows of text that get more information from them, and then from that information we can create a work order and get it to the appropriate department to take care of. So this is not an app, it's just text messaging. So 97% of people use texts every day. So it'll be really easy, and this is not replacing our staff taking phone calls. This isn't replacing, you know, our current reported concern feature on our website. It's just an additional tool that we can use to for people to communicate with us and address issues and get answers. So, and additionally, it creates lists that people can opt into to receive, you know, occasional texts about certain topics of their choosing, such as, you know, the holiday trash schedules is always kind of, everyone's like, on every holiday is our trash going to be off by day. So if they want to know about that, or, you know, summer concerts or sports registration deadlines, anything that's specific, we can create lists for that people can opt into also. So that is expected to be launched on February 21st. So I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that next month. And then a little Arts Commission information on January 27th. That's this Thursday. The Ray-Pec High School Chamber Singers will perform at the 84th Annual Missouri Music Educators Association Conference. It's down at Margaritaville at the Lake of the Ozarks. This is the first time in school history that a Ray-Pec choir has been invited to perform at the event, so it's a really big deal for them. And the Arts Commission supported the program with a sponsorship to fund one of the compositions that the choir is performing. So Arts Commissioner Pat Setzer and I actually got to see a preview concert last week of the arrangement of the classic hymn All Fly Away is what was Springfield, Missouri-based choral composer Faith Zimmer put together specifically for the choir to perform. So just want to give them best wishes and make sure that you all are aware of that, and if you would like to congratulate them as well. So that's this Thursday, and then eventually we'll get a recording of the performance, so we're excited to see, for everyone to see that. And then right here on February 3rd, it's a Thursday evening from 5 to 8, there's going to be a new show in here, a new art show called Angels of Inspiration, and it's by an area artist named Vincent Vallis. He created portraits of cancer survivors and people still battling cancer posed as angels, and along with these 11 portraits will be several of the actual people that are in the portraits, and their stories will be featured along with the photos. So please, if you're available, drop by between 5 and 8 p.m. that evening. And then if you can't make it, that will be on display throughout the entire month of February here. So that's all I have this evening for you.
It's a lot, Melissa. Thank you. Anybody have any questions of Melissa? Yes, Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this texting feedback, that's software that does that?
It's web-based software. Yeah, and so right now I'm working with every department to create the answers and the flows. Right. Yes.
And then who would get the reports back on that? Is that something that comes back to you?
That comes back to me, and we can have as many users as we need. So if I see that, we can have someone dedicated from Public Works if we have the pothole or, anything that has to do with them, they'll get that in an email. It's not, and it works 24/7. It's not texting any of us overnight or anything like that.
I'd like to have that for my personal text messages. That way I didn't have to
We can block numbers. No, just kidding.
So will you initially sign up for that texting capability online, or is that?
You don't have to sign up. It's a one-time deal. You see a pothole, you can text this number. It's going to be, I'm not going to tell you the number. It's an 892 number like we have a lot around at the city.
All right.
But it's not an app, so you don't sign up. So if you want to use it one time, you can text your keywords. We'll get the answer to you in the workflow or however.
So when we're ready to go,
work.
you'll be posting that particular number for
Absolutely.
that use.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll be sharing that. You'll see it all over.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else have anything? Yes, Ms. Wilsherzer.
Will it act as like a directory at all? So if someone is not sure who to talk to at some point, will it say like, you can reach this person, this is their email and number?
Yes, so we kind of set everything up. They have some basic stuff already set up. So if there's a weird question someone's asking that none of our keywords are hitting, then it does give information on how to connect with us in other ways to get the answer to their question.
Anyone else? Thank you, ma'am. Is anybody okay? Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Ms. Harmer. I would ask Mr. Carteret to introduce our new city planner.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Mayor, and members of the council. It is my pleasure this evening to introduce to you the new city planner for Raymore, Mr. Dylan Eppert. He's been with us since mid-September now. I know, Mr. Mayor, you've seen him at Planning Commission meetings, and those who perhaps have watched the Planning Commission meetings have heard Mr. Eppert give staff reports and the like. Mr. Eppert is from Raymore. He's was a resident raised in Raymore and a graduate of the Raymore Peculiar High School. He received his bachelor planning degree from Arizona State University. And his work experience started out with the City of Lee Summit, several different roles, but mostly with the Department of Development Services, and then most recently was city planner for the City of Peculiar. So one of the many duties that Mr. Eppert will have is the comprehensive plan work for the city. That was started last year, and ask him to give you an update on where we're at.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Dylan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carteret. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Essentially just giving you an update on where we're at with the comprehensive plan. Lots of applications have come in up to this point, and so there was a little bit of a lull where I could had the opportunity to meet with all the department heads. And one of the biggest things that I took from those meetings was that this is not your typical comprehensive plan. More typical comprehensive plans, they have land use and infrastructure. This includes every department within the city and how is that going to fit. So one of the biggest things that we're working on right now and we'll be working on over the next several months is compiling all the information and then identifying the gaps that need to be filled and going back to those departments to have a rough draft. All this is pretty tentative, but the hope is to have a rough draft for the comp plan in June. One of the things I wanted to highlight is the week of the 18th or 25th in July will be our community conversation. At the top of your page, just wanted to kind of give you an expectation of when you can expect me to be giving updates, as well as having the updated Gantt chart to just show if something was delayed or if we're ahead of schedule, something of that nature. Up at the very top is when you can expect those updates to take place. The biggest thing to highlight is by the end of September, we should be bringing this before you all, before this body, and having it adopted by resolution. And so just wanted to give you a quick update, and this concludes staff report.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Eppert? Hearing none, we'll move along. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Eppert. Lastly, would just like to update the council as we had approached you at the beginning of the fiscal year in 2022. You all, unless it is a Monday holiday, you all will be working every single Monday. We are trying our best to schedule for the 4 5th Mondays, if at all possible, your joint meetings with the commissions, the boards, and the Chamber of Commerce. Next Monday night is the joint meeting scheduled with the Planning and Zoning Commission, regular work session format, except for they will be here. Mr. Zur will be doing an overview of common mission and then talking with you all about some of the legal ramifications associated with the interaction between the Planning and Zoning Commission at their separate meetings and then what occurs when it goes to the council. That is the first item that is on the agenda. We try to keep those to just the joint meeting, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, Mr. Todd Goffey will be here. We have the opportunity to, because of the council's planning and our rating from Moody's, we have the opportunity to save upwards on $500,000 on a bond refunding if we get to it quick enough. We'll be in the call window as of March 1. So I want to talk to you about the details that are going to be associated with that. That concludes staff reports this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. Any questions of Mr. Fearborn? Okay. We'll move along in our agenda then. We have no committee reports. We'll move on to the consent agenda. This evening we have 2 items under the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to dispose of any or part of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve consent agenda item A, City Council minutes for January 10th, 2022, and item B, Kurtzwell Emergency Patching Project, acceptance and final payment.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda, both items A and B. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Will Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. We'll now move on to unfinished business. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3676 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3676 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with a graphic resource for printing and mailing services for the review.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3676, agreement with a graphic resource for printing and mailing services.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3676. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Will Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3677 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3677 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving an agreement with the Mid-America Regional Council Solid Waste Management District relating to the Regional Household Hazardous Waste Program.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
I move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3677, Mark Household Hazardous Waste Agreement.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3677. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Will Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3678 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3678 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into an employment agreement with Jim Fuhrborn for the services of a city manager, authorizing approval of this ordinance and execution of the contract herein for the orderly administration of the legal, administrative, and contractual matters of the city.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3678, approval of amendment and restated employment agreement, city manager.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will happily second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3678. Anybody else want to argue about this? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Will Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Welcome back, Mr. Fuhrborn. We'll now move on to new business. Could I have the first reading of Bill 3682 by title only, please?
The first reading of Bill 3682 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore directing the city manager to enter into a contract with Brinton Electric Company for on-call electrical services.
Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Icky to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. The city's current contract with Brenton Electric for on-call electrical services is set to expire next month. Staff publicly bid the new contract and received 3 bids from Brenton Electric, Alpha Energy, and Black & McDonald, and found Brenton Electric to be the lowest and best vendor.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of staff? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3682, agreement with Brenton Electric Company for on-call electrical services.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. The motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3682. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Will Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Can I please have the first reading of Bill 3683 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3683 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore amending the Building and Equipment Replacement Fund for the purchase of an on-site server and license.
Thank you. Is there a staff report, sir?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Icky to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. The item before the council this evening is a budget amendment for the Building and Equipment Replacement Fund. This item is a little unique as the technology itself, the purchase is already under contract, but because we are taking this from the BURP, reason being, because this piece of equipment does support many of the building's functions, would like to have the ITS Director, Jim Mayberry, if he could give a quick staff report on the piece of technology itself.
Thank you.
Evening, Mayor and Council. This server is our oldest application server that we run. Our Rec Track software, which is our Parks and Rec software, and our Public software. During a review of all of our softwares, our operating systems for our servers, it was determined that this server will be losing its operating system updates in 2022. So what that entails is basically no security updates will be placed to that server. Anything that's there now will stay in place. So what we would like to do is replace this server now. The new server will have a Windows Server 2022 license, which is the latest operating system. This update, this operating system update, its stated maintenance end of life is 2031. So we have a good 10 years of life on this server license when we purchase it. And we can transfer this license to another server. When this equipment's out of date, we can move it to another server. I'd be glad to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Mayberry? Thank you, sir. Mr. Fearborn, you have anything else to add, or Mr. Ike?
Only that what you are seeing tonight, because this item is going to have to be purchased on an emergency basis and is less than $10,000, the only item that you see relative to this one, and we wanted to make sure you had full information on the item, is the budget amendment that's associated with the purchase that will come.
All right. Thank you, sir.
That does conclude staff reports.
All right. Thank you, sir. There's no further questions. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3683, Budget Amendment, Building and Equipment Replacement Fund.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3683. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Will Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously 8-0. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3679 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3679 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending Section 341.040 of the Raymore City Code of Ordinances.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Ms. Hill to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Raymore City Code Sections 341 authorizes the operation of golf carts and low-speed vehicles on certain public streets. As is currently stated in City Code, registrations must be renewed each calendar year. The proposed amendment requires renewal every other calendar year for the convenience of our citizens. Thank you.
Any questions of staff on this item? Yes, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Fairborn, just quick, out of curiosity, what prompted the change to every other year?
It is to make it easier. Every year is rapid turnaround for our citizens coming in to get these things licensed. So during the discussion on should we have any changes to low-speed vehicles, because they do have to go out and they have to get them inspected before they come in here. It's just, and there are limited locations for that, literally just to make it easier on our citizens, sir.
Outstanding. Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Fairborn, the neighborhood I live in, we don't have a lot of low-speed vehicles. How many roughly do we have in town that are registered, and do we have any history? I think it's a great program. I'm just curious, anecdotally, do we issue many citations for these or warnings, or is it just an issue that rarely happens?
More warnings than citations. Sometimes we'll have, children who are obviously underage, with their parents' golf carts, but those are more warnings. We just are looking for voluntary compliance.
And then numbers-wise, are there a couple dozen of these licensed in the city? Are there 40 or 50?
Ms. Hill?
In 2021, there were right around 40. The year before, there was about 50.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Anyone else have any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3679, amending City Code Section 341.040, neighborhood vehicles.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3679. Any further discussion? Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I remember when Councilman Holman and myself co-sponsored this, brought this to the chief and came to the council. And I know you worked very hard, and I think it's been very successful. At least in my neighborhood, I see quite a few of them running around. And I liked that one of the complaints was every year to take a vehicle that is really not driven on 58 and take it somewhere to get it inspected was difficult. So I like to see it improving and helping our citizens. So I think this is a good change. And it goes with vehicles now. We can have a 2-year inspection on our vehicles. So I think it's a good thing. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Holman.
I concur with Councilman Barber's comments.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? If not, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Will Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3680 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3680 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending Chapter 600 of the Raymore City Code of Ordinances.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Ms. Hill to make a staff report on this item. There may be some questions that would need to be directed at Mr. Zur.
Thank you, sir. In August of 2021, the Missouri state liquor laws were revised to allow for to-go sales, as was temporarily allowed during the pandemic, and expanded hours for Sunday sales. Bill 3680 proposes to incorporate those revisions into Raymore City Code Chapter 600. The changes include amending the Sunday provision to allow retailers to operate between the hours of 6 a.m. and 1:30 a.m. on any day of the week, and serving or delivering alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption. In addition to these amendments, the city was notified by the state of Missouri that we no longer require the resort designation for liquor by the drink license classification, as our population officially exceeds 19,000 as of the 2020 census. As such, the liquor by the drink resort license classification is proposed to be eliminated. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Zur, you have anything to add?
No, I am happy to provide any answers if there are questions specific from the council.
All right. Thank you, sir. Are there any questions of staff? Yes, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is this mainly just to bring us in line with the state statute?
Yes, sir, that's correct. You're aligning with regard to Sunday sales, which used to have differing times that would be allowed for Sunday sales. Now it's all the same times, 7 days a week, but you still have to have a specific Sunday license. It also aligns with regard to the removal of the resort provisions, that basically the state of Missouri would not identify us as being able to issue out resort licenses based upon our current population. We'd potentially have to go back to that, or the alteration of that if our population dropped, but we don't anticipate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? If there's no further questions of staff, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3680, amending City Code Chapter 600, alcoholic beverages.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3680. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Will Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3681 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3681 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, committing the City of Raymore to participate in the Show Me Green sales tax holiday in 2022.
And we've done this on many occasions, and I would, if there's any questions of staff on this, I'll go ahead and see if there's a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3681, amending and restarting resolution, move that we approve Bill 3681, 2022 Show Me Green sales tax holiday.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3681. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Wills Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. Could I please have the reading of Resolution 22-05 by title only?
The reading of Resolution 2205 by title only, a resolution of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending and restating Resolution 2203 as approved by the City Council on January 10th, 2022, and affirmatively assenting to the issuance of revenue bonds payable from revenues to be derived from the operation of the Middle Big Creek Subdistrict Sewer System in an amount not to exceed $106 million for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, improving, or extending sewer systems serving the Middle Big Creek Sewer Subdistrict, including but not limited to the improvements described herein in accordance with Section 204.569 subsection 3 revised Missouri statutes.
Thank you. Mr. Fearborn, is there a staff report?
Yes, Your Honor, I would ask Mr. Zer to make a staff report on this lengthy titled resolution.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Fearborn and Council, I'm happy to provide the staff report on this lengthy resolution title. The resolution title was reviewed and approved by representatives of the Little Blue Valley Sewer District as well. What you have before you is an amendment from the prior resolution that you approved on January 10th, 2022. After that prior resolution, we did receive input from Little Blue Valley Sewer District representatives, including Jeff Shook, requesting, based upon their council's review, alterations to what you had approved. Basically, we're incorporating into it the names of each of the customers rather than the individual customers within the city. It's identifying the cities as being the representative customers for purposes of approval. That would have to be approved by the 2/3 majority of the cities that are served by the Middle Big Creek Subdistrict. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but it ultimately doesn't alter what you did on 22-03.
Mr. Fearborn, did you have something to add?
The short form of this is Mr. Shook provided us with an incorrect resolution, and when it was being read that night, you may have noticed he came up and whispered in my ear. They had simply sent the wrong one. Shorter form that they were even more concerned about as far as delineating the actual customers was in that lengthy title. It talked about, the original resolution discussed the fact that repayment would be made by Little Blue Valley Sewer District. In fact, repayment is being made by Middle Big Creek Subdistrict, and that's what's actually on the bonds. So they wanted the resolution to match the wording that's actually going to be on the bonds. Pretty simple stuff. Wish they'd gotten the correct resolution to us the first time so we don't have to go through this, but that concludes staff report, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions of staff on this item? Yes, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is similar amendments being made to their other servicing customers?
With a great deal of pain, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Townsend.
Now I would move to approve the first reading of Resolution 2205, amending and restating Resolution 2203, Little Blue Valley Sewer.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Resolution 22-05. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Will Scherzer?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. The last item on our agenda this evening is a meeting of the Raymore Community Foundation. You guys want to remind me the process on that again, please?
Thank you, sir. You need to suspend the regular council meeting and then call it back to order when we're done with this particular item.
Sure,
So you
let's
need
make it as hard as we can here.
So you will need a motion and a second to suspend the council meeting, sir.
I'd entertain that motion if someone would like to state it. No? Okay.
Yes. Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we suspend regular city council meeting for January 24th.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. The motion's been made and seconded to suspend the regular council meeting that we're in right now in order for us to move into the Raymore Community Foundation meeting. Is there any questions? If not, could I have the roll call?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Present.
Councilmember Berenson?
Present.
Councilmember Burke?
Present.
Councilmember Circo?
Present.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Will Scherzer?
Yes.
Okay, so the meeting is suspended until we take care of this next item, which is a meeting of the Raymore Community Foundation. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:36 p.m. and we'll take up the minutes of the previous meeting, which
Your
are part
Honor,
of your practice. Yes.
You actually have to do a roll call for.
Oh, for the meeting. Sure. Okay. Call to order. Let's do the roll call, please.
Director Abdelgawad?
Here.
Director Barber?
Present.
Director Berenson?
Present.
Director Burke?
Present.
Director Circo?
Present.
Director Holman?
Present.
Director Townsend?
Present.
Director Will Scherzer?
Present.
Director Turnbow?
Here, we're all present and accounted for. So we do have a quorum. On our agenda this evening, we still have the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting, which were, let me move up here, on Monday, September the 14th, 2020 meeting minutes. So I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the Raymore Community Foundation minutes for September the 14th, 2020.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the September 14th, 2020 meeting minutes of the Raymore Community Foundation. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Director Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Director Barber?
Yes.
Director Berenson?
Yes.
Director Burke?
Yes.
Director Circo?
Yes.
Director Holman?
Yes.
Director Townsend?
Yes.
Director Will Scherzer?
Abstain.
Director Turnbow?
I get a vote on this? Wow, yes. I hardly ever get to do that. All right, so now we'll move on to new business, and that's the election of officers. Per the Raymore Community Foundation's bylaws, the Board of Directors must meet annually in January to elect officers and conduct any other necessary business. The officer positions are Vice President, Secretary, and Treasurer. The City Clerk will conduct the election for each position. Can you tell us who are in those positions at this time?
I would ask Mr. Icky to discuss the slate that is currently in place.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Currently, the bylaws outline that the president is the mayor. Vice president has been the mayor pro tem. The treasurer has been filled with finance director Lisa Williams, and then our treasurer currently is council member or director Abdelgawad.
Secretary?
Secretary, I apologize.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I'll open it up for discussion if anybody wants to make any changes, or we can make a motion to keep everything the way it is. Mr. Townsend?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
unless there's any further discussion, I'd make a motion to keep the positions the same, office holders the same for this term.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Any further discussion or any additional nominations for any of those positions? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Director Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Director Barber?
Yes.
Director Berenson?
Yes.
Director Burke?
Yes.
Director Serko?
Yes.
Director Holman?
Yes.
Director Townsend?
Yes.
Director Wills Scherzer?
Yes.
Director Turnbow?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. We have no further items on our agenda this evening, correct?
That is correct, sir. The next item would be a joint motion to adjourn the meeting and reconvene the regular city council meeting.
We can do that in one motion? Okay. Mr. Zur is good with that. I'll entertain that motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
I
Townsend.
move that we adjourn from the Raymore Community Foundation and reconvene the Raymore City Council meeting.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion been made and seconded to adjourn from the Raymore Community Foundation meeting and reconvene the regular meeting of the Raymore City Council. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Director Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Director Barber?
Yes.
Director Berenson?
Yes.
Director Burke?
Yes.
Director Serko?
Yes.
Director Holman?
Yes.
Director Townsend?
Yes.
Director Wills Scherzer?
Yes.
Director Turnbow?
Yes, it's unanimous. We are now back into regular session. That concludes new business, so we'll now move on to public comments. If anyone from the public would like to address the council at this time, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. I see no one coming forward, so we'll move on to mayor-council communication. I'll start with our absentees from the council chamber this evening. Ms. Abdelgawad, would you like to start us off, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd be happy to. Just really quickly, I want to thank everyone for allowing me to join online, feeling a little under the weather and not wanting to spread my germs. But I know it makes the meeting last a little longer with the roll call. So thanks everyone for your patience.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Holman.
I don't have anything additional, sir. Thank you.
Is that really Mr. Holman on TV? Because I can't see him. It sure doesn't sound like
It is, sir. He
all right.
does not look great, though.
Poor Mr. Holman. Mr. Berenson.
Practicing the British philosophy of keep a stiff upper lip and carry on, sir.
There you go, sir. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish those absent or are not able to be present tonight well, and hope they recover soon. Not a lot of comments tonight. Just quickly, I will thank Mr. Dillon. Am I saying his name right? Eppert. Welcome aboard. I know you've been here for a while, but it's nice to have you with us, and look forward to working with you soon. That concludes my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our last meeting, I was remote, as you remember, and I was looking at the packet over, and I thanked the mayor and the council, but I forgot to thank staff. I know it takes staff to put this together and get it connected and make it all work, and I appreciate you guys doing that and the work you do. Mr. Krass, wanted to commend you and your department for the last storm that we had. I had the pleasure of getting up and running many errands that morning, and our city was vastly ahead of everywhere else that I went in the metro area, so I know your staff worked hard. And I also, when that happened, I heard some things came out on the news and social media and stuff about some other cities telling their citizens to expect not the quality that we've done in the past because we're shorthanded. And I was complimenting Mr. Fairborn. I've not heard that from our staff, and I'm sure you're shorthanded like everybody else, but the ones that are there must be working extra long and extra hard to get it done, because I didn't see any level decrease. So thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll also keep my comments short this evening. I have much other than to, it sounds like a welcome home is in order for Mr. Dillon, excuse me. Thank you for coming back and lending your talents to the community. It looks, should be an excellent opportunity for us. Looking forward to the output from the comprehensive plan as well on that. And kudos to, again, as Mr. Barber stated, to the Public Works on the last storm event, and just all around with in the efforts that it takes to keep our streets safe and well maintained. It's definitely noticeable when you enter and exit our city limits. You don't need a sign to know when you're out of Raymore, because you can definitely tell in some spots when you've left the confines of what we take care of. And that, in that same vein, we have a huge fight to try to get others to understand that we also need their support to get the access to our city up to par, up to the standards that we expect for our residents. So thank you again to all staff involved in that effort and all the efforts that it takes to make this city shine in the community. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Wills-Scherzer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to say that my reason for abstaining from approval of minutes for September 14th, 2020 is because I wasn't present for that meeting. I also wanted to say welcome to Mr. Eppert and congratulations to the kiddos that are getting to perform at Margaritaville. I think that that'll be a great experience for them. And I also wanted to say that I'm very excited about the Text My Gov program, and I think that it will really help to solve immediate questions and problems and things like that for the citizens. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Okay,
Tom,
thank you,
sorry.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Mr. Zerko, I'm sorry.
There we go. I'd like to chime in on Mr. Effort. Yes, formally here, you got to address us, and we thank you for what you've done and what you're going to be doing. We appreciate you coming on board. Thanks to the parks. I was out there with my great-grandson today at TV Hannah. We spent a couple hours, him and me, playing on the swings, and it was a great time. The park looked good. Skating rink looked good. You guys do a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Nathan, you and your crew are awesome. And I'd be remiss if I didn't go. You know, it was a long night last night for most of us. Some were there in person and biting their fingernails off, but we pulled out a victory. So we got another game Sunday. Go Chiefs. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zerko. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm going to be a broken record here, but I wanted to welcome Mr. Dylan Eppert to put a name with a face with a name, and it's good to have you here, even though you've been working for quite a while for us. And then this was already said by other people, but this is from a different perspective. Last week, my son, I don't know, he did something to his car and messed it up, and then we went back and got it, and when it was fixed. And he said, you know, when I'm driving in Raymore, my car always sounds better than when I'm driving it, you know, to school or to Applebee's where he works. He goes, every time I leave Raymore, my car seems to have more problems. And I'm like, it's the road that is less of a problem. And he was like, oh, maybe that is it. So anyway, thank you to Public Works.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Mike, thank you again to your guys. They did a great job with the snow and ice removal last week. And I know I read a lot of comments on social media giving you guys kudos for being able to negotiate the streets here much sooner than they could in other area communities. So thank you for that. Mr. Eppert, welcome. Where are you back? Oh, there he is in the back of the room there. Welcome, Dylan. I know we've got an opportunity to work together on planning and zoning. Like what you're bringing to the table here. I'm excited about the community conversation starting up again this summer. We always learn some great things from our community as we go through that process. So I'm excited to hear we're going to go through another one. Also, I want to let folks know that I'm on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce did receive information that the lady that we made an offer to has accepted that offer. Not yet really able to say who that is yet. She says she needs to tie up a few loose ends before we make that formal announcement on Friday. But we're excited about the candidate that we're getting and the quality that she will be bringing to our Chamber of Commerce. A couple of big shoes to fill from Sherry Turney. As you know, we recognized her efforts for 17 years running the Chamber of Commerce at one of our prior board meetings, and she will be missed. She'll be with us through the end of the month at the Chamber, so if you get a chance to call her, thank her for all her efforts, we'd really appreciate it. And then welcome the new individual when we finally make that announcement this Friday. again, excited about that next era with the Chamber of Commerce. And that's all I have this evening. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr.
Move
Townsend.
that we adjourn from the regular city council meeting for January 24th.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdel-Gawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Circo?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?